Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about your home recording studio. Today, I am super excited about this one. I made a substantial upgrade for my own audio interface here in my home studio. I'm still a little kind of beside myself, so without beating around the bush or anything, let's take a look. I ended up splurging, to say the least, and ended up with this fella right here, which is an RME FireFace UFX Plus. This is RME's flagship audio interface. Unlike all of the audio interfaces that I've reviewed on the channel, which have been mainly 2 input, 2 output, 4 input, 4 output, things like that, this is a 94 in, 94 out audio interface. Because, you know, every one-man band at home definitely needs 94 ins and 94 outs. No comment. This is an absolute beast of an interface. And on the back here, you can kind of get a little bit of idea about what the connectivity on the back is. But that is not all. I am gonna knock Motu D2 off of the table here. I am pairing that audio interface with a new offering from RME called the 12 mic. Now the 12 mic is a 12 input networkable microphone preamp. And so this monster will pair up via a fiber optic link and a fiber optic cable with the UFX Plus and give me 12 channels pretty much anywhere in the house. So I can take advantage of spaces like our big, spacious, high-ceilinged living room for doing things like drums or anything where I want to use that as a live room. I can find my way into every closet, bedroom, bathroom in the house if I want to with this fella. But I guess let's just get started. I have been dying. I've been waiting a couple of weeks for the SFP module and the cable to come in, so I hadn't been able to plug all this stuff in. And I wanted to wait until I could actually plug it all in before I open any of the boxes or anything. So I am just dying. This stuff's been sitting here staring me in the face for close to 2 weeks now. It's just killing me. So let's take a look here. One thing that I love about RME is they are thorough when it comes to their manuals, and my goodness, this is a couple of pounds worth of manual here. Now, given the overall complexity of these devices, there is no way in any sort of reasonable amount of time I can provide like an exhaustive review or overview of features and all that stuff. There is simply too much to talk about. So I think today I'm just gonna focus on high-level overview, getting them plugged in and getting some signal through them. What else did they give us here? Got a couple of cables that are, so here is our power cable. So it's one of those just kind of standard, whatever you call that IEEE connector there. All right, they give us a USB type B to USB type A. So that's a good point here. This fella can operate for USB 3. And they find in the FireFace series, they finally got rid of the FireWire connection and replaced it with a Thunderbolt connection. So being a Windows guy, I don't tend to mess with Thunderbolt. It's just not the greatest experience in the world for a Windows user. So I'll be using this through USB 3. And they even gave us, that's pretty cool, a little optical cable. So it's a Toslink cable. Let's get this big fella out of his plastic. Oh, yeah. Now that's what I'm talking about. I like it. And honestly, I can't even see it very well from this angle, but as I had mentioned, this is a 94 in and 94 out interface, which is an absurd amount of connectivity. I think it's safe to say it won't be easy to outgrow something like this. So on the front, it looks like they give us 4 mic or line level XLR TRS combo inputs. I like that they actually have the little captive switches for cable release. We get 2 headphone outputs on the front. That's really cool. I like to see that. We get our MIDI in and out 5-pin on the front. we have a memory slot here, so we can actually record directly to media on a USB stick. So this can be like a totally standalone thing without hooking it up to a computer, as far as I understand. We get our whole array of indicators here. We have this great jog dial, which, oh yeah, that's got a good detinted switch here. Got a good kind of solid feel to it. Let's see, what have we got over here? Oh, okay, so this is how we can navigate the menus to drive everything from the front panel here. So with these buttons, we can dive into menus, and I assume these are mode select kind of things too for navigating the menus. Got our power switch. Let's take a quick look at the back. And here we have our other 5-pin MIDI in and out, USB connectivity. We have 2 sets of ADAT in and out. So there's, 16 channels right there, in and 16 out. We have our Thunderbolt plug. We have our USB plug. We have the USB Type A plug for our remote, for our advanced remote controls. So it looks like we can plug it directly in here. So this is our optical connections for MADI in and out. MADI will carry up to 64 channels in and out. Now I'm only going to be using 12 channels in and 2 channels back through that 12 mic, but through a more extensive MADI kind of, not network, but a MADI, well, I guess network, we can have up to 64 channels in, 64 channels out. And I believe that's at 44.1 or 48K. I think just like ADAT, MADI will have the number of channels to go into kind of a dual mode, so you can get up to 96 kilohertz. And I think you can half the channels again to go into a quad mode to get 192 kilohertz if that's what you're working at. So very cool. We have our these are MADI as well. So this is the coaxial version of MADI. As far as I understand, the difference is that you just don't get quite the range. The optical MADI is rated to work over a distance of up to 2 kilometers. I mean, that is just insane. I believe that the coax, the max they guarantee it at is something like 40 feet or something like that. And we get our AES EBU. And then on the analog ins and outs, this looks very similar to my FireFace UCX. It's just about the same number of ins and outs. Whoo, boy, I tell you what, this is a doozy. This thing is just, I'm blown away. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Oh, all right. Okay, I am gonna flip it around so that I can see what the heck I'm doing here. And I tell you what, here, you come with me. Okay. So we get this super crisp, kind of high resolution display here. And this looks kind of similar to what we would see in the TotalMix software mixer. But you can see all the little teeny tiny meters dedicated to each input and output. All right, it looks like we have some default functionality for the knobs. So it looks like when we just turn the main knob, that gives us our analog out 1 and 2, main output volume. And then it looks like this top knob here defaults to our phones, whatever phones are going to output 11 and 12. And it looks like this is our other phones, whatever phones are going to output 9 and 10. Oh man, I can already tell just by kind of just pressing a few of these buttons that's going to take some learning to get down in there and figure out how to work it from the front panel. Honestly, that's something that I never do on my UCX at all. I drive it entirely through TotalMix FX from my computer. That's my plan for this as well, but it is cool to know that just like the UCX, the UFX Plus is fully capable of being controlled all through the front panel if you're using it in a standalone mode or if you're using it in a space where getting to the computer is not feasible. So very cool. All right, yeah, I could sit here and just punch these buttons, for another hour here, but I tell you what, let's move forward. Let's move on. But let's look at this monstrous array of channels here. Let's just expand this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's so many. There's so many. That's not even all of them. You can keep scrolling down here. Oh my goodness. You can keep scrolling up here. Holy moly. Now, if you have no idea what you're looking at here, don't worry. You're not alone. TotalMix is the routing software that accompanies every RME interface. And this is how you can do internal routing inside of the interface to send certain inputs to certain outputs. You can do cool stuff like creating custom mixes and cue mixes to send to different people recording. They can, the singer wants to hear more vocals and the guitarist wants to hear more guitar. This is, just to look at it right now, just a dizzying array of faders and knobs and everything. I won't get into the in and outs, but there are some great resources on RME's YouTube channel. They have a multi-part series about getting to know how to use TotalMix. Suffice it to say, if you're looking to get into RME's interfaces, it's going to be worth taking the time to at least learn the basics of how this works, of what you're looking at here. Because I know this looks intimidating. And with this many inputs, honestly, it's kind of scaring me right now too. Now, the cool thing is they also provide the control panel. And this is where you do all of the super important stuff, like setting your buffer size. For our clock, I always work at 48K, and that's going to be well compatible with a full channel count through ADAT and MADI. So I'll set that to 48K. I don't have any external gear plugged in right now, so there's no input status, no locks or anything. I am going to get the 12 mic out of its box. Now, I have opened this box once, and that was just to get the manual out. And I've read through the manual, and I can't say that I absorbed it all, but at least I kind of know what I'm in for, kind of. And again, in true RME fashion, they provide a nice full explanation of all of the features, all the connectivity and everything in their manual. I love it. I love to see that. Oh my, I like it a lot, yes. Like I said, I'd only opened the box to get the manual out. I hadn't actually looked at this thing yet. So we have 12 XLR inputs on the front. The first 4 are combo inputs. All of these will accept mic or line level, and these 4 will also accept high impedance instrument inputs. We've got a single headphone out on the front, so that's handy. Since this is going to be remote wherever in the house, it's great that I'll have a couple of return channels that I can monitor from, plus up to 12 channels to send back to my interface. Relatively simple, streamlined. And on the back is kind of where all the magic happens here. My goodness, look at all this connectivity. So we have redundant Ethernet for our AVB. We have a USB port, but I was kind of excited when I first saw that until I realized this cannot function as a standalone audio interface. This is only basically an expansion for an existing audio interface or a networked audio system. And so the USB is basically just to plug it into a computer so you can update the firmware on it. You can also update the firmware over the network. I think as soon as you plug it into the network, it becomes a recognizable network device. And I think you can get to its control panel that way. I'll have to see. We, of course, have our MADI, our little empty MADI slot here for the MADI optical. We have our MADI coax, and then we have our word clock in and out. I'm not going to be using the word clock. I'm going to try to clock it over the MADI connection, and I'll see how that works. We have 3 ADAT outs. We have redundant power supplies here. Okay, so in order to get this thing plugged in over optical MADI, I have the RME branded SFP module. And look at this little thing. It's so tiny. It's adorable. It's so teeny tiny. And I have no idea what this thing is for. I am gonna give the manual just a quick read so I know what the heck I'm doing. And apparently there's only one way this thing fits. I take it I'll know it if I'm doing it wrong. So I think this fella just slides on in. Ooh, all right. I think that went in all the way. It didn't necessarily click. I'm gonna use the included cable here. And so it's got the little teeny tiny connectors on one side that'll plug into here. And then it's got the larger format connectors that'll plug in to the UFX over here, wherever that was. Here, maybe? I can't quite see what I'm doing. And again, I believe there's just one way that these are going to fit. And if I'm doing it wrong, I'll probably know it. Hey, all right. That was a satisfying click into place. And let's do the same. I am going to, oh yeah, that had a nice satisfying click as it went into place. And on the front here, let's see here, you come over this way. And so what I see here, sorry about the lighting, but this green MADI is, well, it's kind of blinking at me. Let's go figure out what the blinking means. I can't imagine that that means it's connected and happy. Okay, I just realized my camera stopped recording at some point, so I have no idea when. But just in case, let's go over what I did. This button was flashing red, and it was indicating something's wrong. And so what I had to do, all right, push this main button in, and that takes us to our main menu. We go to rotate the button to get to clock, press the button to get into the clock menu. And what I had done, if you can read it up here, I'm not sure if you can, this button, this very upper thing that says Master MADI, apparently this symbol represents the optical, and I had it set to the coaxial as the clock source. And so a couple of these buttons turned red. This button down here was flashing and turning red. And it was all just there to let me know something's not right, which is great. This is my very first time dealing with MADI at all. I've never hooked up to MADI devices before. And so I love that it had a way to tell me in no uncertain terms, hey, something's not right. So let's send some signal through this darn thing. After all this configuration and all that business, let's just send some signal through this, and I think I'll call this a success for today. We'll do some more fancy stuff with this later. Let's plug into input number 1. Oh yeah, get a nice satisfying click, locks in place. Okay, so I press this, press the button above input number 1, and it brings up a little menu that looks like it's related to everything channel 1. So it looks like it's telling me 48 volt, and let me press this button. Yeah, so I'd take it that means 48 volt off, 48 volt on, back. Okay, so, hey, all right, I see the little tiny meter over here dancing. Let's see if we can get you in close enough to see that. So we get a little bit of dancing there. Let's go check the computer. And I believe what we're looking at is, I think MA 1 and 2. Yeah, is going to be our MADI channel 1, channel 2. So we're not using it as a stereo pair. So let's click the setting thing here. Let's uncheck stereo. So now we just have MADI 1, MADI 2, and I can just see the meter dancing here. So let's click the wrench here. And we don't have gain control right here, which is kind of surprising. Okay, so that's simple enough. So if I just press this button here on input 1, that changes the display to show me details about input 1. And all I have to do is just dial the button, and you can see that the gain starts to come up. All right, very good. So I'm just going to do that and speak into the mic, and let's see if we can't record a little bit. Turn on monitoring. Hey, all right, we're getting some signal. Very good. Now I've got my headphones plugged into the UFX, so let's see if I can turn those up. And in TotalMix, phones 1, and we can see phones 1 is listening to phones 9 and 10 here in the software playback row, but that's not really what we want for our purposes right now. We can, in a simpler way, let's turn that all the way down, and while we're clicked on phones, let's tell it we want phones to hear software 1 and 2. Hey, there we go, now I can hear myself. Okay, test 1, 2, there we go. Now we can hear ourselves. Looks like we're getting a pretty strong signal, but let's see what happens if, so let's just crank this up. Get it up. So we're at plus 40 dB a gain right now, so that's going to be pretty loud. I might have to do a thing or two of this in post, but hey, this is awesome. This is great. We got it hooked up. I would say this is a fantastic start for day 1, just having taken all this stuff out of the box. All right, yay, woohoo! Okay, so I did not get around to the advanced remote control USB. We'll do that next time. This video is going to be plenty long as it is, but I think this is a great accomplishment for just day one right out of the box. So this is not exactly a setup that, you know, most of my audience here, you know, most home recorders are looking to run out and buy. And I recognize that. And I mainly wanted to do this video because I'm so darn excited about it. There were certainly cheaper ways to solve this problem. And once I got to shopping around and looked at everything available, this was just the right combination. Even though it was outrageously expensive, it was just the right combination of doing something that I need it to do that my current setup doesn't. But also it was just cool. and it's a brand that I'm very attracted to because RME has earned my trust over the last several years. My FireFace UFX has been absolutely bulletproof. There is not once that it has ever let me down. It's never thrown a fit. It's been plugged in, powered on 24 hours a day, almost the entire 7 years that I've owned it. And it has never thrown a fit once. It's never given me any trouble. It's fast, it's stable, it's a wonderful device. And when it came down to it, any sort of an upgrade for me, I think RME earned that from me. That you know, the proof is in the pudding. Like I'm sold. And so that was really the only brand that would have satisfied me to upgrade from where I was at. I know RME's stuff lasts a long time. They stay up on their driver updates for a very long time, which is rare in the industry. So I know that they won't abandon their products. And I know as long as these things are up and kicking, which I expect to be many years, I won't abandon their products either. So, okay, now that I'm feeling a little woozy thinking about the overall cost of all this, I think that's a good place to go ahead and end the video for now. I will be back with some more content about these devices as I get to know them better. I guess that will do it for me this time, and I'll see you guys again next time.